Oh yes, I did just use another Star Wars reference in my title. I mean, what did you expect? I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm keeping up with the Star Wars theme name. But this is the Mississippi King welcoming y'all back to more Let's Play Mega Man 5, the blandest in the series so far. Well, period, but welcome back, Mississippi dudes. And in this episode, we're actually going to tackle Napalm Man. So, his stage is actually one of my favorites in the game, so, when I say it's the blandest, I'm not saying that, like, the entire game is terrible, but it's not. Well, none of it's terrible, really, but it's just kind of forgettable. In this episode, we're gonna take out the remaining 4 Robot Masters. Maybe even get to the boss of the first Proto Man Castle. Because in this game, we're fighting Proto Man. And we're also going to collect the remaining letters that spell out Mega Man 5. And that's important for us to get. Because they're pretty useful, they're definitely gonna come in... they're definitely gonna come in handy. In this tunnel, you can just use the water wave and it'll take care of anything in front of you. Yeah, when I said or, I could just die. But yeah, as I was saying, I said that the water wave was alright. And I mean just that, it's alright. It's not terrible, it does work in a few instances. But it's kind of annoying that you can't use it in the air. But, the gyro attack, the same thing. It's kind of slow, but it's not bad. And this stage is actually really awesome. Indeed. In terms of the Star Wars references, I guess since I'm referencing Star Wars in all of the titles of these episodes, my one for this is I hate sand. It's rough, it's coarse, and it gets everywhere. I don't know if that's gonna be the title for this episode, because here's the secret. I haven't decided on what the title for this episode is as I'm recording it. But I do decide that it is going to be some sort of Star Wars reference. Believe me, I can come up with something. But that scene about Anakin hating sand, yeah, I used to hate that scene, but given the fact that it's been memed to high heaven, I've started to appreciate it more. Because it's just so notorious, it's been memed to high heaven, and I can't help but enjoy it a bit. I'm sorry, it's a terrible scene, and it's horribly written, but I do like it. It's just horrible. And the reason I enjoy it is because it's so unintentionally hilarious. Also, that guy right there, that's a reoccurring enemy. We ran into them in the first episode, and I just died. That's swell, ain't it? But yeah, we ran into them in the first episode. These are the big guys of this game. And they're worse than the big guys in the first Mega Man game. I don't know what they're called, but nevertheless, they are annoying because whenever you try to slide under them, they'll just try and slam down when you're right underneath them. And really, there's no weapon that's truly effective against them. They just suck. I hate them! Apparently a bad point about Napalm Man, however, is that he's a weapon nerd. I'm not so sure how that's a bad point, but whatever. Apparently he could probably teach me a few things about weapons. I'm no weapons expert. Nevertheless, you can just keep using the crystal eye. And as far as I know, it doesn't actually matter, like it doesn't actually do any more or less damage if you use the crystal eye as the big one, or if just the small one hits him. So once we beat him, we'll get the Napalm Bomb. And that must be real awesome, right? Nah, it's alright. Yes, I keep saying that. That's probably gonna be a running gag. But after now that he's out of the way, Napalm Man, we can take on Gravity Man. And Gravity Man's stage is probably my favorite in the entire game. I love it, because it has this unique anti-gravity gimmick, because it's like, you can actually pass through certain regions that have up on them, like the up arrows, and they'll actually switch the gravity to the top, and vice versa for the ones that point down. It's an awesome gimmick, and I like how inventive the stage is. Yeah, when I said that the game is bland, I mean it, but nevertheless, there are still some things that I enjoy about this game. And as I've said before, if you were to show this to me as my first Mega Man game, I would probably think this game is incredible. It really is that good, and I can't fault it. A lot of the level design is really well made and inventive, and Gravity Man's stage is an excellent example of that. And it also has one of my favorite stage themes in the entire game, so that's definitely a plus. But the music in this game is awesome. It's way better than Mega Man 4's soundtrack. I don't know if I'd say it's like the third best in the series, because there are a lot of really good ones. I think in that regard I'd probably be torn on either Mega Man... I'm torn between like Mega Man 6, Mega Man 7, and Mega Man 9. And Mega Man 8 has the best sound front of the series, the best musical style in the entire series, but in terms of the actual soundtrack, it's good, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. But nevertheless, I do still enjoy this soundtrack. I can't really fault the game for that. But nevertheless, even though I did say that Gravity Man's stage is one of the most original and the best stages in the game, I don't think Gravity Man as a robot master is particularly interesting, just like the others. His design is bland, and he looks like pretty much every other robot master of his type ever. One thing I should have mentioned about the anti-gravity gimmick, it actually kind of reverses the controls, so it's like you press up and jump to slide instead of down and jump in order to slide, so that's really neat. So, the one thing I will say about the boss fight with the Gravity Man as a robot master is bland, but at least the fight with him is interesting. Because you constantly switch between different gravities. You go from the ceiling to the floor. But after we beat him, we get the gravity hold. That must be real awesome, right? It's alright. Yes, I am going to keep that up. But now we're on the last two Robot Masters. And, well, we'll tackle Stone Man first. His stage is by far my least favorite in the game because, well, I do love the music, I will say that. But it's just so boring and kind of drags on and on. It overstays its welcome. Yeah, I am not a fan of this stage. It's just too dull. Really should have been cut short. Should have been a lot shorter than it actually was. And that does kind of bother me. But, I mean, I do like the music, as I've said, but nevertheless, it's just so dull. Because it's like, they don't really change up the stage. It's just too similar to, like, every other stage like it. So that's kind of annoying. And it's not even particularly hard. It's just dull and uninteresting. But the weapons are alright. And it's like, I am going to be showing off most of them fairly well. I mean, it's not like we're going to show off, like, a few or none. Oh, okay. The Power Stone we're probably not going to show off a whole lot. And neither with the Charge Kick. Although, like, after we're done, I'll probably, like, show that off as part of the final episode, as I've been doing before. But nevertheless, when I say the weapons are alright, I mean just that. They're alright. They do their job, but they're not something that they're not weapons that I particularly enjoy. And this stage is still going on! My goodness, this is so boring! Like, this stage really overstays its welcome. Feels like it should have been like a couple minutes shorter, or 3. And it's something about the way the stage feels that just makes it feel bland and uninspired. Yeah, this is not a very great stage, but, I mean, it's not terrible, and again, from a technical standpoint, it is well designed. There are no, like, beginner's traps or stupid design decisions. It just doesn't feel right. It just kind of feels like it's missing something, that charm that was found in Mega Man 2, 3, and I would argue 4. Because it's like the design for the stage in this, it's like, it just feels kind of mechanical, like it's clockwork, not like it's an interesting stage, because I'll remind people, Mega Man 2 had some terrible design decisions, and it was full of glitches, so from a technical standpoint, Mega Man 2 was arguably worse, but from an actual game feel perspective, Mega Man 2 was far superior because it just felt right, and it didn't feel so drawn out. and each of the stages were enjoyable in their own right. This stage is still going on! Seriously! When I say it overstays its welcome, I mean that. This is probably the longest stage in the game. The one thing that keeps it fairly bearable is the music, which, again, I really love the music in this game. I mean, it's a Mega Man game. Is anybody really surprised? Hopefully we're coming to the end, right? Nope. Still goes on. Fortunately, we're reaching the home stretch, and when I say the home stretch, I mean there's still a substantial amount left to go. I ain't kidding when I say it's probably the longest stage in the game, or at least the longest Robot Master stage. I think the castle stages are probably longer than in previous games, at least it feels like that. And for the castle stages, I don't really mind it as much, because, you know, you don't want to have it end too soon. But, nevertheless, Robot Master stages shouldn't be this drawn out. And you know, I wouldn't mind it so much if this stage were actually interesting and kept adding some interesting elements. You know, like, there are some good examples of that, but Stone Man is apparently friends with Guts Man, and he looks kind of like Guts Man too! What is your deal, mysterious force that keeps producing figures that look like Guts Man? I wonder who it could be. Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but I won't spoil anything. Still, he looks like Guts Man. So some mysterious force must be making figures that look just like Guts Man. What is up with that? But anyway, when we beat Stone Man, we get to the Power Stone. And that must be real awesome, right? It's terrible! It's probably the worst weapon in this game. This one, it never hits its target. Because they speed along too. Basically, you would fire 3 stones that spin extremely fast, much too fast, and they go outward, except they go outward too quick for you to be able to hit anything with it. It's useless, or almost completely useless. And I guess I should have explained the Napalm Bomb. Basically, you shoot a bomb, and it falls towards the ground and bounces along the floor fairly slowly. And as I've said, it's alright, but there are better weapons in the Mega Man series. And I guess one thing I should have mentioned about Stone Man is apparently he likes good movies. Who doesn't like good movies? Seriously, that is not a characteristic. Name me one person who does not like good movies. It's like, really? That's all you could come up with? I mean, I guess you could argue that he's a film buff or whatever, in which case I may actually get along with him. He may be someone who's worth hanging out with. I myself am a huge film buff, but we're coming up on the last letter of Mega Man 5. And once we get that, well, I may as well say, we get Beat, which is the thing that Dr. Cossack created for Mega Man. And so, with Beat, it actually is a bird that, surrounds and attacks enemies and arguably more importantly, bosses. Beat is gonna come in handy for the things that we're going up against, some of the bosses. Well, okay, just two, but still, Beat is pretty useful. And also, I'm guessing Beat is like another music reference. It's embarrassing how long it took me to figure that out, but yeah. He's presumably a reference to like a musical beat. But apparently the Charge Man, he actually likes past reflections. I'm not sure how that relates to being a train, but okay. And he dislikes trendy fashions. You know, I'm kind of the same way. Not much of a fan of trendy fashions. But yeah, the Power Stone is terrible. I hate it. And I guess I should have explained the gravity hold as well. Basically, it's a screen nuke, but it only really works for, like, some small enemies. And it uses a sizable amount of weapon energy for each use. Basically, it sends them into the sky, which, as far as I know, does not give you any weapon energy that way. So, you know, it's kind of limited in that regard. And it's not my favorite screen nuke. But once we beat Charge Man, we get the Charge Kick. And that must be real awesome, right? It's terrible. It's the worst weapon in this game. And it's even worse than the Power Stone, which is also the worst weapon in this game. Yeah, this game has two of the worst weapons in the entire Mega Man series. Basically, the Charge Kick, by sliding with it equipped, you can slide along the ground and the slide does damage. It's even worse than the top spin though, because it doesn't seem to work very much. And it also does very little damage when it does work. And it can't be used in the air for, like, aerial enemies, that is. And at least the top spin could be used for that. I did find some use for the top spin, but as for the Charge Kick, it's worthless. It's the worst weapon in this game, and I hate it. But now we're tackling Proto Man Castle, I think that's what it's called. The music for this place is amazing, by the way. It's one of the best castle themes in the series, or at least in the classic series. And it's great. It's like it has this nice beat to it. I mean, this music just gets you pumped up for a fight that pits brother against brother. It sounds desperate, like you'd expect it to. But one thing I feel I should mention about the info card for Beat is that I realize it says that Beat can lift Mega Man, like, after he falls into a gap. That factor of Beat isn't going to become relevant until Mega Man 7, because in Mega Man 5 and 6, Beat only serves the purpose of providing cover, like, for attacking various enemies, and in Mega Man 5's case, bosses. Yeah, in Mega Man 6, Beat returns, but can no longer target bosses. And so, it's noticeably less useful in that game, but nevertheless, Beat still does come in handy on occasion. I mean, I guess they were worried that Beat would, like, break the game against many bosses. Indeed, Beat is pretty useful, and in Mega Man 7, Beat beat is only useful for, like, carrying you across various things. Like, you have a certain number of beat calls that allow you to get past a certain region. Like, you'll fall into a pit, and then what will happen is that if that happens, Beat will come and rescue you so long as you have at least one beat call. And its application in that regard is kind of less useful than it was in Mega Man 2 or Mega Man 5. No, I mean Mega Man 5 and 6. Again, I guess they wanted to nerf Beat's power, but I'm not sure why they changed it so that Beat can carry Mega Man across bottomless pits, or like when he falls down, why he can rescue him. Also, I can't believe I haven't explained this, but the super arrow that you get from Starman, you can use it as an alternative to Rush Jet and as a weapon. I've shown it off earlier, but you can use it and it will attach to walls, and it can also be used to attack enemies. But I guess that's all for this episode, since it's getting to be kind of long, so join me next time as we fight against Proto Man and finish the battle once and for all. See y'all then. This is the Mississippi King signing.